Commander Vex 9 stood before the massive viewing portal of the Galactic Council's flagship, watching the blue marble of Earth spin lazily in the void. His four eyes blinked in sequence, a nervous habit he'd developed over his 30 centuries of military service. The pristine white hue of his doubry had not, the iron fist stretched out beneath him like a metawillic city. "Sir," came the voice of his tactical officer, Lieutenant Crix. "The final fleet positions are confirmed. 2,000 ships in orbit. Another 500 in a reserve. The humans won't know what hit them." Vex 9 turned his massive, scaled head toward the Smimewiller reptilian officer. Me again. "Crix, why we're using such overwhelming force against a species that Botterelli managed to leave their own solar system but decades ago." Crix's tail twitched with what passed for amusement among their species. "High Command believes in thorough PR reparation, sir. Though between you and me, this feels like using a fusion cannon to kill a space flea." The commander let out a rumbling laugh that sounded like grinding stone. "A space flea. Yes, that's exactly what they are. Soft, pink, pathetic, a willy weak sartu. Ires, who die if you look at them wrong. No natural weapons, no armo, art hide, no venom sacs. They can't even biotree and vacuum without their ridiculous suits." Speaking of which, Crix just read to a holographic display that materialized between them. "Our xenobiologists have updated their assessment. Humans have a maximum lifespan of roughly 80 Earth years. Their bones are under minimal PRSR. They require constant intake of water and food, or they die within days. And get this, they actually sleep for 8 hours out of every 24, unconscious, completely vulnerable." Vex 9 shook his head in disbelief. How did such a fragile species even survive on their own planet? "Luck. Apparently, their homeworld has no major predators that posed a significant threat. The most dangerous Kyriada where they faced was something coupled with the saber-toothed tiger, which went extinct before they developed proper technology. Everything else they just outsmarted." "Outsmarted," Vex 9 repeated, making the word sound like a curse. "Brain over brawn. How quaint. How absolutely useless against plasma cannons and graviton torpedoes." The tactical display showed Earth's pathetic excuse for a defense fleet. Roughly 50 ships, most of them battery larger than shuttlecraft. Their biggest vessels couldn't match even a single Calaxian patrol boat in sheer power. The humans had spread their forces thin, trying to protect multiple orbital stations and lunar facilities. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from Earth," Communications Officer Zala announced from her station. Her tentacles danced over the control interfaces with practiced precision. "They are requesting a diplomatic meeting." Vex 9 and Crix exchanged looks that would have been grins if their species possessed the facial muscles for such expressions. "Put it through," Vex 9 commanded. The holographic display shifted to show a human female, middle-aged by their standards, with graying hair pulled back severely. She was what appeared to be a military uniform, though it looked more like decorative cloth than proper battle armor. "I am Admiral Maria Santos of the United Earth Defense Force," the human said, her voice steady despite the impossible odds she faced. "To whom am I speaking?" "Commander Vex 9 of the Calaxian Imperium," he replied, making no effort to hide his contempt. "UA are in violation of Galactic Sector 7 Alpha. Withdrawal will human peer pods immediately, or face the consequences." The human's expression didn't change. "Commander, we have been in this sector for 30 years. We have established colonies, our research stations, and trade agreements with 17 different species. We are not going anyway, are." Crix snorted, a sound like steam escaping from a broken pipe. "Trade agreements. With whom? The Zentari? Those gas-bag merchants would will their own mothers for a profit. The skittish? They are so afraid of their own shadows they'd agree to anything." Admiral Santos continued as if she hadn't heard the interruption. "We propose a peaceful resolution. There is plenty of space in this sector for both our species. The Galactic Council's own charter supports the right of sapient species to establish colonies in unclaimed territory." "Unclaimed?" Vex 9 laughed, the sound echoing through the bridge. "Little human, the Calaxian Imperium has claimed this sector for over 2 millennia. Your NTR species was hitting rocks together when we planted our flag here. Yet you never established any permanent presence. Santos replied coolly. According to Article 47 of the Galactic Settlement Accords, a claim are active colonization within 500 standard years, or it becomes void. The silence on the bridge was deafening. Every Calaxian Padarazan turned to stutter at their commander, who felt his four hearts skip several beats in unison. She's actuated, right? Zala whispered, her tentacles torn bling as she accessed the legal databases. The claim expatriated 400 wizard years ago. We never renewed it because we thought no one would ever doubt or rechesh will ingest for this worthless patch of space. Vex 9's scales shifted from their normal dark green to a dangerous shade of irate. It doesn't matter what some ancient Titirati says. We have the superior force. Might makes right in this galaxy. Admiral Santos nodded slowly. I see. So this is a declaration of war then? Against a member species of the Galactic Council. Member species? Crick sputtered. You by our lay qualify as sentient. You have been part of the Council for what? 5 years? We have been founding members for the 3,000. 5 years is long enough to invoke our protection rights, Santos said. But I understand your position. You have decided that because we're a smarter, weaker, and newer, we don't deserve the same consideration as other council members. Exactly. Vex 9 Rubiarad. Vina Willie, you understand, this is how the galaxy works, human. The strong take what they want, and the weak submit or die. For the first time since the conversation began, Admiral Santos smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. Thank you for clarifying your position, Commander. Am I recording this conversation, of course, for the Council or the Clappards? I'm sure they will be very interested to hear how a founding member views the rights of newer species. Vex 9 felt a cold chill run down his spine, but his pride wouldn't let him back down now. Record whatever you like. By the time any help arrives, there won't be enough humans left to file a complaint. Actua Willie, Santos said, checking something off scatterine. I have just received confirmation that my message has been transmitted to 17 different council species. Or real-time quantum communication is quite useful, don't you think? Several of them have already expressed concern of your statements. The bridge erupted in panic, chittering and hissing as various officers realized the implications. The Calaxian Imperium was powerful, yes, but we aren't stronger than the NTR Galactic Council combined. You are bluffing, Vex 9 said, but his voice lacked its earlier conviction. Santos tilted her head. To Wilmy, Commander, how familiar are you with human history? Why would I waste time studying the brief, pathetic history of your species? That's unfortunate. You see, we have a saying, those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. We have spent our entire existence studying war. Commander, every conflict, every strategy, every victory and defeat, we have learned from a will of them. Crix leaned toward his commander. Sir, she's trying to intimidate us with words. Humans attentive are a will talk. Their own historical records show they couldn't even defeat each other decisively until they developed nuclear weapons. Santos chuckled, a sound that somehow made every Calaxian on the bridge uncomfortable. Lieutenant, was it? You have done your research. Nuclear weapons. Now those we are interesting. Did you know that in our World War II we went from first nuclear test to dropping atomic bombs on enemy cities in just a 3 weeks? Not months, not years, not 3 weeks. Primitive atomic weapons, Vex 9 scoffed. Battery more powerful than conventional explosives. True, but here's what your intelligence reports probably missed. We're very good at improving things quickly when we are motivated. For instance, it took us only 17 years to go from those primitive atomic weapons to hydrogen bombs that we are 1,000 times more powerful. The uncomfortable silence returned to the bridge. And when we invented computers, Santos continued conversation Willie, it took us 50 years to go from room-sized machines that could ball or beatly calculate tax returns to devices that fit in our pockets and could process much more information than your average Starship computer. We could will it exponential improvement. It's what we do. Vex 9 was beginning to feel like he'd stepped into a trap, but it was too late to back down now. Enough talk. You have 1 hour to evacuate a human palace from this sector, or we open fire. Commander Santos said, her smile growing wider. You have made a fundamental error in your assessment of humanity. Which is, you assume that because we are physically weak, we are weak in every way. You see our short lifespans, and think we must be less than you. But you have missed the most important factor in any conflict. And what's that? Admiral Santos leaned forward, her eyes glinting with something that made Vex-9 instinctively step back from the screen. You have never seen what happens when Petery animals decide to stop running. The transmission ended. Crix looked at his commander uncertainly. Sir? Order? Vex-9 stared at the now blank Skish-Shirin for a long moment. Everything in his training, everything in his experience, told him that humans we are weak, soft, helpless. The Intezai reports we are clear. They had no significant military technology, no experience with large-scale space war per der Sivas, where Jiri Kalbosiri are no bridges with serious fare. Begin the attack, he ordered. Target their orbital facilities first. Let's show them what a real power looks like. But as his fleet moved into attack formation, Vex-9 couldn't shake the feeling that Admiral Santos had been willing him something important, something he'd failed to understand. He would learn, soon enough. The first wave of Calaxian ships swept toward Earth, like a meta-Willick storm, their plasma cannons charged, their shields at maximum, their confident in their overwhelming superiority. What could go wrong? Lieutenant Crix Monito read the tactical display, watching their forces close on the human positions. First contact in 30 seconds, sir. The humans are that are not moving. Not moving? Their ships are just sitting the Bortram, no. Evasive maneuvers, no aggressive positioning, they are just waiting. Vex-9 frowned. In his experience, weaker species either fled immediately or made desperate, futile attacks when faced with superior force. This passive waiting was unusual. Maybe they are paralyzed with fear, suggested Communications Officer Zala. Or maybe they are planning something, muttered the commander. Like what, sir? Our intelligence is rock solid. Humans have energy weapons roughly equivalent to what we were using 2 centuries ago. Their ships are mostly scientific vessels converted for military use. Their armor couldn't stop a Calaxian sidearm, let alone a plasma cannon. The tactical display showed the first Calaxian ships entering effective weapons range. The lead vessels, or heavy cruisers from the elite First Squadron, locked onto the knee-arrest human ships, and Prasharepper ereded to 4. Sir, the sensor operator willed out, I'm detecting some kind of energy buildup from the human vessels. It's unusual. Unusual how? The signature doesn't match anything in our databases. It's not plasma, not particle beams, not graviton weapons. It's something else entirely. Before Vex-9 could respond, the human ships opened fire. What came out of their weapons wasn't the pathetic energy beams the Calaxians had expected. Instead, monsterames of what looked like liquid fire erupted from hidden ports along the human ships' wheels. The substance moved too fast to be normal matter, but didn't behave like energy either. The first Calaxian cruiser to be hit simply dissolved. Not exploded, not torn apart, but dissolved like metal dropped into acid. In seconds, a ship that had taken 20 years to build and house 30,000 fear embers became nothing but expanding gas and debris. What in the 7 he wills was that? Crix demanded. The sensor operator's voice was shaking. I don't know, sir. The Perseriatings are pistol. What ratings are Perserian impossible? Whatever hit the Vengeance converted its entire mass into energy instantaneously. 2 mode or cruisers suffered the same fate before the Calaxian captains realized their shields we are completely useless against whatever the humans we are using. The will ships. Evasive maneuvers. Vex-9 commanded. Find out what they are shooting at us. But it was too late for the first wave. The human ships, moving with precision that suggested they'd been planning this engagement for years, systematical Willy destroyed 17 Calaxian vessels in the first 90 seconds of combat. Sir, Zala reported, her tentacles pale with shock. I'm receiving panic transmissions from the fleet. The humans are using some kind of matter conversion weapon. Our shields, our armor, nothing stops it. That's impossible. Matter conversion requires enormous energy expenditure. Those little ships couldn't possibly power such weapons. The tactical display showed more human ships emerging from behind Earth's moon, their hero wills bristling with the same unknown weapons. But these vessels we are different from anything in the intelligence or reports. We are sleek, predatory-looking craft that moved with an agility that defied physics. New contacts, the sensor operator announced. 15 human vessels, unknown configuration. They are, by the gods, they are fast. They are accelerating at rates that should liquefy their sackaroos. Sir, Crix said quietly. I think Admiral Santos was trying to tip you with something. What? She said we'd never seen what happens when PRA animals decide to stop running. I think we are never the PRA, sir. I think we are. The new human ships struck the Calaxian formation like sharks hitting a school of fish. Their matter conversion weapons carved through the invaders' ranks, each shot perfectly placed, each hit instantly fatal. Within minutes, the Calaxian first wave had been reduced from 150 ships to battery 30. Iridiat. Vex 9 ordi irred. Vex 9 ordi irred. Via back to long range. But the human ships pursued with a relentless efficiency. They moved in formations that suggested a level of tactical coordination the Calaxians had never seen before. Every maneuver was calculated, every shot deliberate. And then the real surprise came. Sir, the communications officer's voice cracked with panic. I'm detecting massive energy signatures throughout the solar system. That on our human ships, everywhere, behind asteroids, in planetary rings hiding in radiation shadows. Hundreds of them. That's impossible, Vex 9 whispered. Our intelligence said they had 50 ships total. Admiral Santos' voice suddenly filled the bridge, transmitted on a will 4 frequencies. Commander Vex 9, this is your final warning. Withdraw your forces immediately, or we will be forced to defend ourselves. Defend yourselves? Vex 9 snarled into his communicator. You are slaughtering my fleet. Actually, Santos replied with that same unsettling calm. This isn't slaughter. This is a demonstration. We have disabled or destroyed approximately 12% of your force. If this we are slaughter, you will be dead already. 12%. You have destroyed nearly 200 trips out of your total force of 2,500. Yes, 12%. We have been tracking your fleet since you entered our sensor grid 6 days ago. 6 days ago? That was impossible. The Calaxians had the best stealth technology in the galaxy. You see, Commander, Santos continued, you made several assumptions about humanity that we are inaccurate. You assumed we are weak because we are physically fragile. You assumed we are primitive because we are new to space. And most importantly, you assumed we are unterrepit because we didn't immediately surrender when faced with overwhelming odds. The tactical display showed modern human ships emerging from concealment throughout the solar system. They appeared from asteroid fields, from behind planetary rings, from the shadows of moons. The 50 ships the Calaxians had detected we are only just the tip of a very large iceberg. The thing about humans, Commander, is that we are really quite good at the things. Learning, adapting, and preparing for the worst possible scenario. When we joined the Galactic Council 5 years ago, we immediately began studying every military conflict in our recorded history, every strategy, every weapon, every tactic used by every species. Vex 9 watched in growing horror as his tactical officer updated the count of human vessels. 508, 1,000, 1,508. The numbers kept climbing. We also studied every species we might potentially come into conflict with. The Calaxian Imperium was at the top of that list. You have a reputation for aggression, after a will, so we were a temporary day. Accordingly, this is impossible, Vex 9 motorad. Our intelligence reports we are comprehensive. We monitor human space for years. Oh, you monitor the space we wanted you to monitor, Santos said cheerfully. The civilian ships, the research stations, the obvious military installations. But you see, we have had 30 years to prepare for this day, 30 years to dig in, to fortify, to plan for the moment when someone decided we didn't deserve to exist. The human ships had stopped firing. but they maintained perfect tactical positions around the Calaxian fleet. It was clear that any movement would result in immediate annihilation. So here's what's going to happen, Commander. You are going to order your ships to stand down. Then you are going to withdraw from this system, and then you are going to explain to the Galactic Council why a founding member decided to commit genocide against a newer species without provocation. And if I refuse, the pause before Santos' word was followed with the kind of silence that precedes avalanches. Then you will learn why humans don't have natural PR editors on our homeworld anymore. Vex 9 looked around his bridge at his terrified Daru. The tactical display showed his once mighty fleet surrounded, outgunned, and completely at the mercy of a species he'd consider red bar. Hardly worth noticing. What happened to your perturbators? He asked, quietly. Admiral Santos's smile was audible in her voice when she answered, "We ate them." The commander of the Calaxian Imperium's Generatus fleet stuttered out at the blue marble of Earth, finally understanding what Admiral Santos had been trying to tell him from the beginning. We aren't the hunters in this scenario. They never had been. Will ships, he said slowly. Stand down and PR to withdraw. But even as he gave the order, Vex 9 knew this wasn't over. The Calaxian Imperium wouldn't accept this humiliation quietly. They would return with motor ships, better weapons, and a clearer understanding of what we are dealing with. The question was, would it be enough? Something told him that humanity's surprises we are far from exhausted. Admiral Santos closed the communication channel and turned to her tactical officer, Captain Jake Morrison. How did we do? Textbook execution, ma'am. Will objectives achieved with minimal casualties. 17 enemy vessels destroyed. The Horus neutralized or errating. Our losses 0. Good. Signal will hidden fleets to maintain position. The Calaxians will be back, and next time they won't underestimate us. Yes, ma'am. Should we report to the council? Santos looked out at the stars. The Calaxian fleet was slowly limping away from Earth. Not yet. This was just the opening move. The real game is about to begin. It was right. In the depths of Calaxian space, emergency sessions we are being called. Ancient alliances we are being activated. And for the first time in the fairy millennia, the Calaxian Imperium was preparing for a war they might actually lose. Humanity had just announced its presence on the galactic stage. The announcement had been written in fear and fury, and the message was clear. We are out here. We are out ready. And we are out not going anywhere. But the Calaxians we are about to discover that humanity's greatest circ wasn't their mysterious weapons or their tactical brilliance. It was their absolute terrifying refusal to give up. Ever. Supershed Admiral Thex Prime of the Calaxian Imperium stood in the war chamber aboard the massive Ariadnot Eternal Dominance, staring at the holographic display that showed the Ariad's military force ever assembled in galactic history. 12,000 ships, the combined fleets of 7 Awilid species, weapons capable of cracking planets, shields that could withstand supernovas, and yet, his starry hearts we are beating faster than they had in centuries. Superveranis Admiral General Quarth 7 approached with the distinctive meta-willic clank of his cybernetic legs. The final fleet positions are confirmed. The humans won't escape this time. This crime's massive form turned toward the scar-red veteran. You sound confident, General. That's refreshing considering the disaster 6 months ago. Sir, with a respect, Commander Vex 9 went into that battle unprepared and overconfident. We have spent half a year studying every second of that engagement. We know exactly what we are dealing with now. Do we? Thex Prime activated another holographic display showing the mysterious human weapons in action. Our best scientists can't explain how they achieved matter conversion on that scale. The energy requirements should be impossible for ships that size. General Quarth 7's cybernetic eye were tried as it focused on the display. Perhaps, but we have developed countermeasures, rotating shield frequencies, a blade of armor plating. Dispersal fields. Their weapons won't catch us off guard again. And the ships that appear odd from now are intelligent, said 50. They had over 2,000. A clever trick, hiding in asteroid fields and radiation shadows. But we have scanned every cubic meter of the Sol system this time. No surprises. Sax Prime wasn't convinced. Something about the humans' behavior during that first encounter style both read him. They'd been too calm, too Petria rata raid, too amused, as if they'd been expecting the attack a will along. Sir, Communications Commander Nexus interrupted from her station, her insectoid feature areas twitching with excitement. We are receiving reports from our forward scouts. The human fleet has taken position around Earth. Same formation as before. How many ships? Approximately 3,000, sir. A will of unknown configuration. General Cortha 7 snorted, a sound like grinding gears. But they're 1,000. Against 12,000, plus our 7 a willied species. They're either completely insane or insatiably stupid. Or infantredibly confident. X Prime murmured. The Superso Army Admiral had risen to his position through the 3 centuries of wars against dozens of species. He'd never lost a major engagement. But something about this situation felt different, like walking into a room where the furniture had been moved just slightly out of place. Sir, Tactical Officer Brix Alpha willed out, Admiral Santos is requesting communication. X Prime felt his scales shift color involuntarily. After the humiliation 6 months ago, the human admiral had become something of a legendary figure throughout Calaxian space. Some Kawith willed her the power daughter in human skin. Others simply referred to her as the one who laughs at death. Put her through. The holographic display shifted to show Admiral Santos, looking exactly as calm and collected as she had during the first encounter. If anything, she seemed more relaxed. Sip Arimi Admiral Thex Prime, she said with a slight nod. I understand congratulations are in order. 12,000 ships is quite impressive. You have managed to convince 7 other species to join your little tantrum. This is no tantrum, human. This is justice. You humiliated the Calaxian Imperium. Such an insult cannot go unanswered. Santos tilted her head. Insult? Supereni Admiral, you attacked us without provocation, researed in genocide, and attempted to steal territory that legally belonged to us. We simply defended ourselves by making fools of our finest warriors. No, Santos said, her voice taking on that same unsettling quality from their previous conversation, by showing them what happens when you mistake kindness for weakness. General Korth 7 stepped forward. Enough talk, human. You face the combined might of 8 species. Surrender now and we might willow some of your kind to survive as slaves. Admiral Santos looked at the general for a long moment, then began to laugh. It started as a quiet chuckle, then built into full-bodied laughter that somehow made every being on the Calaxian bridge feel cold. Oh, General, she said when she finally composed herself, you stipple don't understand, do you? Understand what? You think this is about military might. You think it's about who has the bigger fleet, the better weapons, the stronger willies, but you are fighting the wrong war. Dex Prime felt that familiar chi will again. What do you mean? To will me Sipirame, Admiral, how long did it take you to assemble this magnificent fleet? 6 months of peer reparation, negotiation and coordination. What does that matter? 6 months, Santos repeated. That's interesting. Do you know what humanity has been doing for the past 6 months? Cowering behind your homeworld's defenses. Santos's smile grew wider. Learning. The word hung in the space between the fleets like a loaded weapon. You see, Santos, continued conversation, Willie, when your commander Vex 9 attacked us, we realized something important. We'd been too subtle, too careful, too worried about making enemies. But you taught us a valuable lesson. In this galaxy, a respect isn't earned through diplomacy, it's earned through strength. Benar Willie, General Korthard 7 exclaimed, you admit that might makes right. Oh no, General, you misunderstand. We learned that lesson from you, but we learned it better. The tactical display on the human side suddenly exploded with new contacts. Ships began appearing throughout the Sol system, not dozens or hundreds, but thousands, tens of thousands. The display couldn't keep up with the count. Impossible, X Prime whispered. You know what humans are really good at, Supper Orimi Admiral? Mass production. When we decide we need something, we don't just build one. We build 1,000. When we need 1,000, we build a million. It's what we did with our automobiles, our computers, our weapons during our world wars. The ship count on the display passed 50,000 and kept climbing. 6 months ago, we had the 30,000 ships are ready for combat. Today let's just say we have been busy. Communications Commander Nexus was frantic, a Willy updating her displays. Sir, the contacts at RST will appearing. The count is over 80,000 and rising. But General Cortha 7 Stamarad, the R resources alone, the construction time, the CR. Yes. Peerers. Into said. That was an interesting check. Willenging. You see, humans are produced quite efficiently. Did you know that our population has in the race to by 200 million in the past 6 months? Turns out, when facing potential extinction, people tend to prioritize having child arenarin, and those child arena meteor very quickly when raised with purpose. 200 million new humans in 6 months. Vex Prime could be already process the number. Plus, we have been recruiting. It's amazing how many species in this galaxy have grievances against the Calaxian Imperium. The Torgans, I remember when you glassed their 3rd moon. The Hyvestai will mourn their lost colony ships. The Centauri Federation has some very interesting stories about Calaxian protection rackets. The tactical display was now showing a willied fleet markers throughout human space. Not just human ships, but vessels from dozens of different species. Of course, Santos continued, not a will of our new ships, our traditional Willy CR wed. What do you mean? General, how many or DU members does your average battleship require? Approximately 5,000 beings. Humans are quite good with automation. Our average battleship are Rex Satellite Cures 12 CA remembers. The Horus is handled by artificial intelligence. The silence on the Calaxian bridge was absolute. Artificial intelligence. Vex Prime's voice cracked. Sentient computers? That's forbidden by 17 different galactic team tier-80s. Actual Willy. Santos said pleasantly. It's only forbidden to use AI to replace sapient beings in decision-making roles. The Aura's nothing in the tier-80 is about using AI to handle routine ship operations, targeting systems or tactical coordination. That's not how those two tripartities we are meant to be interparted. Perhaps not. But it's what they actual Willy say. Humans are very good at reading contracts. Super my admiral. It's a skill we developed during our early civilization, when survival often depended on understanding exactly what words meant. General Cortha 7 was staring at the tactical display with something approaching panic. The ship count has passed 100,000. This is impossible. No species can construct that many vessels in 6 months. No single species, perhaps, the Santos agreed. But you see, we haven't been working alone. Remember how I mentioned that many species have grievances against the Calaxian Imperium. We are very willing to share their construction capabilities with us. The Hyvestai are excellent shipbuilders. The Torgans specialize in weapon systems. The Centauri have amazing industrial capacity. But the coordination required. Vex Prime was beginning to understand the scope of what he was facing. Humans excel at logistics. Supreme Admiral. We organized supply chains, coordinated construction efforts, and managed air resource distribution across 47 different species. In 6 months we built what amounts to the largest fleet in galactic history. The display now showed human and Willied ships emerging from every planet, moon, asteroid, and space station in the system. The Sol system had been turned into a massive fortress, bristling with more power than some entire sectors of the galaxy. But the most important thing we learned, Santos said, her voice taking on a harder edge, is that the galaxy operates on one simple principle: the strong dictate to the weak. Thank you for teaching us that lesson. You are bluffing, General Cortha 7 said, but his voice lacked conviction. You can't possibly have that many functional vessels. Would you like a demonstration? Without waiting for an answer, Admiral Santos gave a signal off-screen. Suddenly, every human and Willied ship in the system signaled simultaneously, not at the Calaxian fleet, but at empty space. The energy discharge was visible from hundreds of millions of kilometers away. Space itself seemed to catch fire as hundreds of thousands of matter conversion beams, plasma cannons, graviton torpedoes, and weapons that had no names lit up the void. When the light show ended, the R was a moment of perfect silence. That, Santos said calmly, was our ships firing at minimum power into empty space, just so you could get an accurate reading of our capabilities. Lex Prime looked at his sensor officers, who we are a will staring at their displays in shock. Sir, one of them whispered, the energy output registered on our sensors from 8 AU away. If they had targeted our fleet, we would have been vaporized instantly. Lex Prime finished. Now, Santos continued, let's discuss terms of surrender. Surrender. General Quarthus 7 sputtered. We have not yet begun to fight, General. Santos said patiently. You brought 12,000 ships to fight what you thought we are 1,000. We actually have over 150,000 ships, with production capacity to double that number every month. Your entire combined fleet are predic. For instance, approximately 8% of our current military stay nearing. The numbers we are staggering. In 6 months, humanity had built a military force that dwarfed the combined fleets of the galaxy's major powers. But more importantly, Santos added, we have been studying your tactics, your weapons, your strategies. Every battle the Calaxian Imperium has ever fought, we have analyzed. We know how you think, how you fight, how you plan. You, on the other hand, know almost nothing about how we operate. Lex Prime felt his command authority crumbling. What do you want? First, immediate withdrawal of a will Calaxian and a willed forces from human space. Second, formal recognition of human territorial claims by a will-aid attacking species. Third, our reparations for the unprovoked attack 6 months ago. And if we are fuse. Admiral Santos's expression didn't change, but something in her eyes made Lex Prime's scales turn pale. Then we will teach you the final lesson about humanity. We don't fight wars to win, we fight wars to end them, permanently. The Therid hung in space between the two fleets like a blade waiting to will. Sir, Communications Commander Nexus called out urgently, I'm receiving reports from our home systems. Human fleets have appeared in Calaxian space. They are surrounding our core worlds. What? Lex Prime spun toward his communications officer. That's impossible. How did they get past our defenses? Admiral Santos ends the question. The same way we got past your intelligence networks, your sensor grids, and your expectations. We are very good at being underestimated. While we are gathering your fleet here, we are positioning ours here. General Quarthus 7 cybernetic components we are sparking with Satares. You are holding our homeworlds hostage. No, General. We are demonstrating that this conflict can go one of two ways. You can accept our terms and return to your homes, or you can force us to queue, or move the Thataret you are, or represent, permanently. You wouldn't dare attack civilian populations. Santos's expression hardened. General, your species attempted genocide against ours 6 months ago. Your super pyramid admiral just raided to enslave our survivors. What exactly makes you think we won't respond in kind? The terrible silence turned to the bridge. However, Santos continued in a softer tone, human speed prefer not to solve problems through mass destruction. We're offering you a choice. Leave our space, acknowledge our sovereignty, pay a reasonable reparations, and this ends here. Everyone goes home. Everyone lives. And if we agree to these terms, Lex Prime asked quietly, then humanity withdraws from Calaxian space, and we establish proper diplomatic relations. We might even be willing to shatter some of our technological advances. Did you know we have improved matter conversion efficiency by 100% in the past 6 months? The 300%? Turns out when you are motivated by the prospect of extinction, you innovate very quickly. We have made advances in energy production, shipbuilding, weapons technology, and AI development that would normally take centuries. Fear is an exawillid motivator. Lex Prime looked around his bridge at his officers. A will of them wow are expressions of defeat and disbelief. The greatest military force in Calaxian history had been outmaneuvered. outgunned and outthought by a species they'd consider red-eyed, are really worth noticing. You have planned this entire scenario, or realized. From the moment your first scout ship entered radar sensor grid 18 months ago, Santos confirmed. We knew someone would eventually Willy will NGS. The Calaxian Imperium was the most likely candidate, so we presared. 18 months? General Korth 7 looked confused. But we only decided to attack 6 months ago. Santos smiled that unsettling smile again. General, did you Area Willy think your decision was entirely your own? We may have influenced certain intelligence reports that made their way to your command structure, reports that made us look weaker and vulnerable than we actual Willy we are. The revelation hit the Calaxian bridge like a physical blow. You manipulated us into attacking you? We gave you accurate information about our capabilities. How you chose to interpret that information was up to you. But yes, we wanted you to attack when we said already, rather than wait until you might actuate pose a theory. Nex Prime felt something inside him Biriac. He used our own arrogance against us. Yes. And now you understand the most important lesson about humanity. We don't just adapt to Furiates. We turn Furiates into opportunities. The Superami admiral looked out at the vast human fleet surrounding his forces. Ships that had been built in Sekatarat, positioned without detection, and coordinated with a precision that spoke of months of planning. You have won, he said simply. Yes. The question now is what happens next. Do you accept our terms, or do we finish what you started? Dax Prime closed his 4 eyes and felt the weight of their 3 centuries of military pride crumble into dust. We accept your terms. Exe Willant, please transmit your formal SERP runner to a will ships in your fleet, as we will as your runner willed commanders. I'd hate for there to be any misunderstandings. As the Calaxian Supershami Admiral gave the orders that would end his career and humble his MPR, Admiral Santos turned to her tactical officer. Captain Morrison, signal a will fleets to maintain position until the withdrawal is complete. Yes, ma'am. Admiral, if I may ask, how long have we actually been planning this? Santos looked out at the stars, where the largest military force in galactic history was beginning its withdrawal and defeat. Since the day we joined the Galactic Council, Jake, we knew eventually someone would test us. The only question was who would be first, and whether we'd be ready. And now the galaxy knows that humanity isn't just another weak species to be bewildered with, or ignored, we're a force to be reckoned with. What's our next move? Admiral Santos smiled, but this time it was a genuine expression of satisfaction rather than the predatory grin she'd shown their enemies. Now we get back to what humans do best. Exploring, learning and building a better future, but we'll do it with the understanding that we are never again going to be anyone's victims. With 3 days later, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered to discuss the implications of humanity's demonstration of power. The Calaxian representative, former Super Admiral Thex Prime, stood before the assembly to deliver his report. Honorable council members, he began, his voice carrying the weight of absolute defeat. I must revise a will plan of previous assessments of the human species. In what way? Asked the council moderator, a gaseous being whose voice resonated through specialized speakers. We believed them to be weak because we are physically fragile. We believed them to be primitive because we are new to space. We believed them to be vulnerable because they showed a restraint and sought diplomatic solutions. Vex Prime paused, looking around at the hundreds of alien faces staring back at him. We are wrong about everything. Humans are not weak. They are patient. They are not primitive. They are efficient. And they are not vulnerable. They are prepare. What exactly happened out there? Demanded the HFY representative. Humanity taught us the difference between looking weak and being weak. In 6 months they built a military force larger than the combined fleets of our 8 attacking species. They did it quietly, efficiently, and with the cooperation of dozens of other council members who had their own grievances with Calaxian aggression. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. But more than that, Fox Prime continued, they demonstrated something that should terrify every aggressive species in this galaxy. Humans don't just fight to win, they fight to solve problems permanently. What do you mean? Asked the Zentari delegate. They could have destroyed our fleets completely. They had the firepower. They had the tactical advantage. They had every right to retaliate for our unprovoked attack. Instead, they offered us a choice: peaceful resolution or total destruction. And you chose peace. We chose survival. Sex Prime Course erected, because for the first time in Galaxian history, we encountered a species that was genuinely more dangerous than we are. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Honorable council members, Vex Prime concluded, I recommend immediate revision of a will protocols, are guarding human space. These beings are not to be underestimated, that are entered or provoked. They have proven themselves to be the most formidable military force in known space, and more importantly, they have shown the wisdom to use that force as responsibly. What is your assessment of future human behavior? The moderator asked. They will continue to explore, to learn, and to grow, but they will never again allow themselves to be victims. Any species foolish enough to threaten humanity should expect swift, overwhelming, and decisive retaliation. The former Supreme Admiral paused, remembering Admiral Santos' final words to him. They told me something before we departed. They said humanity had learned the most important lesson in galactic politics. Respect is earned through strength, but wisdom is shown through restraint. They have both in abundance. As the Galactic Council debated new policies and protocols, Admiral Santos stood once again on the bridge of her flagship, watching the stars. Admiral Captain Morrison approached with a report. Final Tower Willie's Orion, total casualties from the engagement, 0 on our side, minimal on theirs. The Galaxian Imperium has formally acknowledged our territorial claims, and 17 other species have requested defensive abilities. Any word from the Council? They are calibrating their assessment of humanity. Apparently, we have been upgraded from minor member species to major galactic power in a record time. Santos nodded. Good. Maybe now we can focus on the things we actually want to do. Exploration, our research, building our relationships with peaceful species. And if someone else decides to test us. Admiral Santos looked out at the vast fleet that had just defined humanity's place in the galaxy. Ships built in Saccharid by volunteers, armed with weapons that had never been used in anger until a week ago. Then they will learn the same lesson the Galaxians did: never mistake human kindness for human weakness. We pay for peace, but we are exceptionally good at war. Captain Morrison smiled. Should I pass that along to the Council? No need, Santos replied. I think they figured it out. In the depths of space, the largest fleet in galactic history began to disperse. Some ships are turned to Earth, others to the hidden bases where they'd been constructed, still others to patrol the borders of human space. But their message remained clear to every species watching. Humanity had arrived as a major power, and we are here to stay. The galaxy would never be the same. And for the first time since joining the Galactic Council, humanity was perfectly fine with that. After a while, they'd always been good at adapting to new situations. It was what they did best.